Okay, guys, I want to show you something pretty cool here. Oh my gosh, what? There's like a pottery handle. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh, that was not planned. Okay, I'm gonna put this here for later to look at. All right, so long story short, we know that David obviously died at some point. And in Acts 2, Peter is preaching and he says, our brothers, we know how our forefathers before us died and their tombs are still with us to this day. And specifically, he ends up mentioning David. And the Temple Mount, you can't see it, but it's over there. And he would have been preaching from the Temple Mount, so it's very likely he could have pointed in this direction. I'm so excited. I'm like trying to go so fast. All that is to say, this is a very interesting location. We can't prove it 100%, but here's some dots to possibly connect. So, David is human. He dies. Josephus talks about his tomb being glorious and filled with riches, and how at some point wealth had been taken away from the tomb for different things to pay for, kings not to come destroy Israel, also for different building projects later on by King Herod and stuff like that. So it was well known, the location was well known, and it was a glorious thing. Earlier, Nehemiah, who rebuilt the city walls of Jerusalem, recounts how he went around the walls of Jerusalem thinking individual groups, and we know that he went around it counterclockwise, and so he's naming different places he stops. And just circumstantially, he happens to list, and I don't remember all the places, I'm sorry guys, he lists one place, and another place. Now we know exactly where all those three things are, and he says right next to it was David's tomb. Well, the city of David, the original city of David, was around 13 acres. Well, when you get those three locations and you put them together, you narrow it down to about 100 feet. So we are within that 100 feet area, okay? Now, go on top of that, later on, Hadrian, the Roman, comes into Jerusalem and just completely obliterates Jerusalem and sort of tries to push out anything Jewish, anything of the God of the land. So he does three things. The temple is already destroyed, but then he destroys it even more and he builds a temple to his Roman god on top of the Temple Mount. He goes and he builds a temple on what is now the Holy Sepulchre, most likely trying to squash the idea of people saying that Jesus had been crucified and risen from there. And he goes to Bethlehem and he builds a temple on top of where now the Church of the Nativity is, on top of that cave where we commemorate Jesus' birth. And this is all in the year like 130. So this is only around 100 years after the fact of all of these events happening, and he comes and he destroys all this stuff. Then the last thing he does is, for all of his building projects, he's getting stone from somewhere. This is where he quarried his stone from. But now, there's a very good reason possibly why he quarried his stone from here, because there's plenty of other places to quarry them from. But this just happens to fit the location definition of where King David and the other kings' tombs were. So, in order to squash all the other sites, he stole all the stone from where King David's tomb might have been. And now, let's show you the possible tomb. Ready? Okay, so we entered through here. Now we're coming up. Now, it originally would have been up on a higher level, but he would have been quarrying stone down here, and it's not 100% clear. It seems like maybe there was also a secondary tomb down here, but it may seem boring to some of you who don't care about archaeology, but if you see these stripes, the type of tools they're using here to quarry the stone is during the time of Herod and after, so it also fits the Hadrian time period. But if you come up here to this tomb, again, we're within 100 feet, and this place has been ransacked by Hadrian intentionally, and it's within the location. If you come up to this tomb, this is a completely different time period. Now, it's hard to tell because it looks so old and worn out, which is also another sign that it's older, but it's sort of more like popcorn, just like holes. But this is a completely different time period. And this spot right here is perfect size for a large stone, I can't think of the word now, coffin essentially, to be placed with a resting bench. And it was known that this place was full of treasure from King David, a little lamp niche, And now maybe the last piece of interesting evidence. If you were to go in a straight line and walk out that direction, you would hit Bethlehem. And where is King David from? Beit Lechem, the house of bread, Bethlehem. So, we can't say for sure. Some things with archaeology you could say yes, yes, yes for sure, or at least it's an A+ rating, you know, if you had to give it an A, a B, a C. This one I'm not quite sure. There's mostly circumstantial evidence because it's not like there's something that says David was buried here. But the circumstantial evidence is interesting. Hadrian, who was interested in squashing anything Jewish, anything religious, trying to get rid of this idea, he kicked all the Jews out of Jerusalem. So it wasn't just religious, but also even very political. Well, it would make sense to destroy their favorite king's tomb and completely desecrate it and use it to take all the stone around here to build the temples to his pagan gods, on top of all these other main religious sites. So, who knows, maybe we are in the tomb of King David. So, just some thoughts. And now, back to our pottery handle. Maybe that'll say King David on it. All right, from Jerusalem.